The greatest things about places that breed certain achievers. Oklahoma breeds country music artists. They just do. And there's a reason for that. Usually if you find some place that turns out baseball players and baseball players, there's usually a coach in that region that's turning out these players. And they send them on to the majors. Well, in Oklahoma and in country music, we have a guy like that. We have a guy named Jim Halsey that cultivates and farms Oklahoma talent.
From the most popular names in show business today to the fastest rising stars of tomorrow, the Jim Halsey Company sets the world to music. Roy Clark, the Oak Ridge Boys, the Judds, Mel Tillis, Brenda Lee, Tammy Wynette, Merle Haggard, Reba McEntire, Lee Greenwood.
Now, therefore, I, Brad Henry, Governor of the state of Oklahoma, do hereby proclaim April 7th, 2010 as Jim Halsey Day in the state of Oklahoma. There you are, Mr. Halsey.
Have a little talk with Jesus. Tell him all about our trouble. Hear our faintest cry. Answer by...
Everybody spends their life doing stuff, and I haven't thought this out, but I would say you take that level of somebody that's done so much stuff and had an impact on the business, and pretend there we go at the top, and then just push it one notch higher, and then you have a few icons of the business, and that's where Jim Halsey is.
I definitely look at him and his career and what he's done and try to follow in that same path.
Well, he has meant the difference in my being known in country music right away.
You know, Jim has been very instrumental in the Oak Ridge Boys' career. You know, his years of leadership and guidance and direction, his friendship means so much to us.
One more time, Roy. Have a little talk with Jesus.
He was the first one that when we became acquainted said, you have a future and I would like to be part of it. Well, I had heard that expression before, but that's where it ended. He said it, that he would like to be part of it, and became part of it.
That ain't coming back, so I'm moving on. I'm rolling on.
The Las Vegas Sun says that Jim Halsey's Las Vegas accomplishments deserve a place in the Guinness Book of World Records. Vacationers, convention goers.
The other aspect that's so great about Jim, and I think we're the same way, the Flaming Lips and me, and the way we do business, is he's a nice guy. And so many people in this business just aren't nice, and we are. And I think that was a lesson that was very important for me to learn early on, too, was that you can be nice and be successful. And if we learn one lesson from Jim Halsey, that should be it.
Jim is a nice guy. He is a super guy.
For over 35 years, the Jim Halsey Company has steadily expanded its vision of advancing the artist and their art, truly setting the world to music.
Do you remember the article in Reader's Digest called The Most Unforgettable Person I've Ever Met? You're that for me. You truly are. You are unforgettable.
Well, I grew up in Independence, Kansas, which is right on the Kansas-Oklahoma border. And my folks had a department store, Halsey Brothers Department Store. And I was never really interested in that, although I worked in the store from time to time. And as a kid with my bicycle, I delivered packages all over town for people that bought things. I had seen this advertisement on the back of a comic book. It sells so many packages of flower seed, and I would get this giant telescope. And I sold, I don't know how many packages of zinnias and marigolds and stuff like that to get that telescope. And so I couldn't wait for it to come. And finally it came. And I thought, well, this can't be it. The box is so small. Because when I looked at the picture, it looked like it was just bigger than I would be. And I opened it up, and it was several tubes, cardboard tubes inside each other, and a little glass was hardly magnifying at all. And I was so disappointed, and I was angry, and I was disappointed both. And so I went to my dad, and my family, being in the department store business and dealing with customers all the time, said, you know, we have longevity in the business here because our key is a satisfied customer. Now, you're not satisfied with this person that sold you the idea of selling those flower seeds. You'll never do business with them again. That was a big lesson in ethics to me. And of course, my family constantly talked about good quality merchandise for a reasonable price, quality price. And I learned a lot from that. In my senior year in high school, I read a book that I made a book report on called Impresario. It was by the great impresario Sol Hurok, who was famous for bringing all the ballet companies and dancers, primarily from Eastern Europe and Russia. And I could just see him, you know, with his cape thrown over his shoulders and his top hat and carrying his gold-headed cane. That sounded pretty glamorous to me. And I said, well, what I want to be is an impresario. I made up my mind.
How he got into managing is a great story in itself. He sees this bus by Memorial Hall, and it really looks tired. There's this little bit of oil dripping out, and he asked someone, he said, who's in that bus? And they said, the band, the orchestra. He said, well, who's in that Cadillac that's parked next to the curb in front? That's the manager. Jim Halsey said, that's the day I stopped playing the saxophone and started thinking about managing.
Well, one of the great bands at that time period, this is 1949, Leon McAuliffe and his Western Swing Band. So I wrote his manager, C.M. Cooksey. Said I would like to promote him at the Memorial Hall in Independence, Kansas. So my first show, which was in October of 1949, I presented Leon McAuliffe and his Western Swing Band at the Memorial Hall in Independence, Kansas. The whole town was filled with cars. Cars from Oklahoma, cars from Missouri, out-of-county cars. I thought, surely, are they coming to see Leon? I didn't know at the time. This was my first deal. So by the time I got to the Memorial Hall to open my box office, there was a line waiting clear out in the street. My first date was successful. It was great. I met Leon. He didn't know there was an 18-year-old kid promoting his show. And I became friends with Leon and Mr. Cooksey, and I promoted a lot of dates. Hank Thompson taught me a lot of my philosophical dealings as far as artistic manner is concerned, and how to build an artist, how to promote, how to market an artist. And this is one of the things that I think set us apart from anybody else, is that the artist always comes first. And because of Hank Thompson, I established my philosophy that we all have an obligation to change people's lives for the better if we can. One of my clients, Roy Clark, has an amazing talent. He's a great humanitarian, and he has an infectious smile. But on top of that, he's probably one of the best guitar players ever in the world, a comedian and a singer, and he puts on a show. He's one of the greatest showmen that I've ever seen in my life.
Jim Halsey and I have been blood brothers since 1959. It's when he said I had enough talent that he knew I was going to be a big star and he would like to be part of it. But I was asked not too long ago if there was anything good that I could say about Jim Halsey, and for the life of me, I have not been able to think of one solitary thing.
Roy became popular on Hee Haw. When Hee Haw became a weekly show, not only did he reach a lot more people, a vaster audience than any other TV show that he had done, but he created a personality that people were able to see on television.
Right today, I get people, I can walk down the street in Dallas, or more than that, New York City. I won't go a half a block, but somebody will say, I'm a pickin'. Well, I'm obligated to say, well, I'm a grinning.